Hello everyone, Victor Tanzig here, and welcome to the Reddit Railway. Today's destination is r/ProRevenge, so all aboard! So I'm a gay man, though it took me a long time to actually come to terms with it. While I was questioning my sexuality, I dated a girl named Jane. We were together for 3 years and were pretty serious. I could see a future with her, even though we were still in high school. One of the biggest supporters of my relationship was my best friend James. He and I were really close. In fact, we were more like brothers. He would constantly talk about how glad he was for us. Looking back, I now see he had a habit of complimenting her, saying she was really sexy and the like. After a while, I noticed they became very possessive of their phones. They'd randomly disappear, saying they were ill or they had something else to do. I wound up going to Jane's house one day when she bailed on me, claiming she had a migraine. I was worried for her, so I came over with painkillers, food, and bottled water. Despite my concern, I also had a feeling she was lying to me. No surprise, she was. I let myself in with a spare key she gave me and found her in bed with James. I was heartbroken. The two people I cared about most had betrayed me. I was furious. We had a major argument. Jane begged me to listen to her, whilst James yelled at me. I eventually just stormed out. I wanted to go and tell everyone what they'd done and shame them for it, but that's where the problem arose. Remember at the start where I mentioned I was questioning my sexuality? James knew about it, and he used this against me. He knew I was terrified that my parents might disown me if I came out. He threatened to tell them if I didn't keep my mouth shut. So I did. He and I worked together at his father's garage. Since I couldn't think of a way to explain why I was mad at him, I had to pretend everything was good between us. Besides, I needed the money, and there weren't a whole lot of jobs I could apply for. Also, I should mention that James was going out of his way to harass me. He called me a bunch of slurs, pushed me, and kept reminding me that he could tell my parents at any point. I got really low, and the only time I felt any peace was when I went to the local gay bars. At one of these places, I met Alex. We flirted for a few weeks before gradually becoming friends with benefits. He is amazing, and I know it sounds cheesy, but I was the happiest I'd ever been when he agreed to be my boyfriend. After a few months, I opened up to him about what happened with Jane and James. That's when an evil look fell over his face. Alex is the sweetest guy you could ever meet, but if you piss him off, he can and will turn into an evil genius. Around this time, James boasted about how the ladies loved him and he could get any girl he wanted. He'd always been like this, but he upped the bragging to annoy me. He also told me how any girl I dated would leave me in an instant to be with him. Alex suggested we put that to the test. We started off small. James had given me his email address a few years prior and hadn't changed the password, so I decided to be very generous and sign him up to several gay porn websites using their premium subscription packages. I also turned on notifications, so his email was flooded with offers, suggestions, and other things. And best of all, his father also used this email. One day while working in the garage, his dad stormed in and asked to speak to James. For the record, his dad wouldn't have cared if his kid was gay, but he was mortified James would order so much smut through a shared email address. For months, he genuinely thought James was a sex addict. I logged into the email 2 weeks later and found over 100 notifications. I guess I signed him up for more than I thought. It cost a fair bit of money, but it was worth it. Alex also chipped in, so it wasn't too bad. James started getting more aggressive after this. I guess he figured out it was me. He'd barge into me, screw up my work, and send me disgusting and insulting messages. I logged everything using a notepad and took screenshots of any text. Alex helped me organize this information and saved the files on a hard drive. This was when we decided to move to the next phase of our plan, the girlfriend. And no, I don't mean Jane. She and James split a couple of weeks after I found out about the affair. They were never gonna last. Something I didn't mention about Alex is that he's a drag queen. When in costume, he's very convincing due to having a fairly feminine physique. His voice isn't all that deep, and he can sometimes be mistaken for a girl. Thanks to a mutual friend, we borrowed some women's clothes for Alex to wear. We then created a fake Facebook account for my new girlfriend. We posted some cute, lovey-dovey photos together to establish our relationship. Then, we proceeded to the next phase. Alex would come to pick me up from work a couple of days a week, dressed as an extremely beautiful girl if I do say so myself. We'd chat, hold hands, hug, kiss, and generally act like a couple. James obviously noticed. He took the bait and began chatting to Alex when he was waiting for me to finish up. He eventually sent Alex a friend request to his fake account, which he happily accepted. After several weeks of talking about work, school, TV shows, and music, James started edging the conversation into more sexual territory. This was exactly what we were looking for. Alex answered accordingly. He had tried to send Alex nudes hoping to get some in return, but we deleted those straight away. We thought that would be a little too far, even for this douchebag. This continued for a few weeks until we had everything in place. Alex made sure to screenshot the messages. We then changed the fake account to Alex's real name and deleted the pictures of him and I. I sent the screenshots of their conversation to James's friends. They were pretty accepting and usually called him out when he was being an asshole, but they took great pleasure in mocking him for this. The look on James's face when they started ripping into him about his little boy toy was absolutely priceless. This got out at school, and the people he had been picking on started to clap back. This pissed him off to no end, as he had no defense. Expectedly, James reacted poorly to this and started sending Alex a bunch of hateful messages and threats. We added these to the ever-growing amount of evidence we kept on the hard drive. Once we had enough, I decided to take it all to James's dad. I told him everything. His face was kind of blank with a hint of anger in his eyes. He thanked me for the information and went off to speak with his son. James got fired on the spot. I decided not to go to the police because I didn't want to cause any bad publicity for his dad's company, but I did decide to leave the garage. He gave me an amazing reference that allowed me to get another job I desperately wanted. I'm told James's parents flipped out on him at home. They refused to give him his job back and also sold the car they'd been letting him use. Despite all this, he was able to get into college on a scholarship. While there, he started hanging out with a bunch of other lowlifes. I found out through a mutual friend he was still a homophobic prick who terrorized several LGBT students. He also made disgusting threats against a lesbian girl in his class. None of them wanted to do anything about this, however. Why? Because James had lied to them, saying his dad was one of the college higher-ups. I decided to lend a helping hand. I emailed the college about his past behavior. I also encouraged some of the students he'd been harassing to speak up, which they did. In light of all this, the college revoked his scholarship. His parents kicked him out after that. He stayed with his friends for a few months before he managed to get an apartment. Last I heard, he was working in a fast food restaurant and trying to get into another college. I have no idea why he turned out this way. His mum and dad were lovely, open-minded people. It's crazy. I do hope he's able to better himself. Everyone's capable of change, right? I'd also like to clarify that I didn't care all that much about getting back at Jane. Yes, she did have an affair, but she didn't try to blackmail me. In fact, she showed me proof that she had tried to persuade James to not blackmail me. If they had stopped speaking to me after I caught them together, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. I'd have been hurt and maybe a little awkward at work, but I wouldn't have gone out of my way to get back at James. The worst I did to Jane was show her mum messages where she admitted to the affair. This was when I found out she had told her mother I was the one who cheated, not only with a bunch of girls, but guys too. After hearing the truth, her mother was not happy with her. I also found out Jane had been cheating on her current boyfriend. I told her mother and the guy about this. They're still together from what I heard. All I can say to him is, good luck, my dude. I eventually did end up coming out to my parents, and they were surprisingly supportive. And the best part, Alex and I are still together. Wow, wow, and wow. This was terrific. OP went all out on the revenge. James is a complete mongrel. I guess he proves some people are just born bad. And no, OP, not everyone is capable of change. Guys like James are among them. Jane also sounds like a cow. She cheated on her boyfriend and then tried to make him out to be the bad guy. I wish OP got her as viciously as he got James. At least he told her mum. I'll bet that relationship will never be the same. Well done, OP. Also to Alex. Evil genius indeed. And with that, I'll end the video here. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.